What's going on? It is only 3 days till the official start of summer. And if you're tired of going on the beach, not being proud of where you're at, and you want to get a shredded, tight tummy once and for all and get your summer abs, DM us on Instagram with the keyword summer abs to our Instagram page at Colossusfit, Colossusfit. We're running a little test group here for 4 individuals. This will be first come, first serve. And we're going to be looking to really just target exceptional change for you, especially in the stomach region, so you can lean out, see results, and be beach ready this summer. So once again, to take advantage of this opportunity, DM us on Instagram with the keyword summer abs. I'll see you over there.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's episode. I am your host and coach, KG, here with
his other host and other coach, Josh. What's going on, everyone?
Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast. We are so happy to have you here, whatever day it is that you're listening to this. Obviously, recommend Mondays, but we just want to say thank you for spending 20 to 40 minutes, however long this episode is, with us. We know your time is super valuable, and we want to just give you as much value as possible within this entire episode. So, with that being said, we like to start off with the main question of the day, and then we jump into our quotes, our thoughts, all that great stuff. So let's start off with question number 1, which is, what new observations have you guys had with the gym culture, and how people train these days?
So I just want to put this in as a fun question. I get asked this all the time, and it's interesting. Like, I realize now it's been about 13 years I've been working out. I've been in gyms, maybe approaching 14, which is pretty wild. I think I started around 14 years old, which is absolutely absurd. So I think I'm getting on towards that 14th year, and it's crazy to me. Like, people still come up and say, like, what's the secret? How do you get these results? And at this point, it's like, I've been training 14 years, okay? Like, be consistent for 14 years. I imagine you look pretty great as well. But it's really been interesting, and we have done a full episode more dedicated towards gym themes and cultures and changes and transitions. But I thought this was pretty fun because one thing I've noticed really through and through is I've just noticed better form. Like, I don't see as much shenanigans as I used to. When I first went in there, it was a wildly different place. I also noticed too, like, there's a lot more of a fashion vibe towards it. I used to love going to the gym, and what I would do is I'd go to Value Village, I'd go thrifting, I'd look for any shirt that would look cool to cut and make into a sleeve monster, and that would be my gym outfit. And then I had like a couple pairs of Under Armour shorts, and I was good to go. Now it's crazy with the sets and the drops and all this different stuff, but I do think it's more fun that it's making it more fun for people, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. And I think the more focus that's been on it with social media, it's been really cool seeing the younger people coming in, doing great form, not being scared to jump right into it, to hop on a bench press. And just the same, I've seen some people that are even older just doing amazing form, doing really intelligent movements. And it's really cool to see the transition from where it was, and everyone needs to really just kind of go around the machines and be really fixated there. So that's one thing I really noticed. Like, what observations would you say you've really had these days?
I will say, I want to say I've seen more strength training. I have noticed definitely a little bit more strength training. I feel like the benefits have just been kind of shown a ton. Like, even my sister who joined our program, who was never into strength training, she just sent me a reel saying, I wish older people, and this was specifically for our mom, but it was, I wish older people would notice the benefits of strength training. It was like listed out a bunch. And I feel like because a lot of times they'll often opt out for just cardio machines because, you know, that's what they know. They've done it for so long. Anyway, so I just thought that was interesting because I do feel like I have seen more of it. Once again, I wish I would see more and more, like, where cardio machines are used only when it's like at the end of the workout. You're not going in there just to use it and you're skipping out on strength training. I do think that a lot of social media has done a really good job of promoting it. I think it's specifically more targeted towards the younger crowd though. You know, the Gymshark Instagram page is the company I'm specifically thinking of, where they have all their young athletes just strength training intensely. And especially for women, I feel like when I first started, it was all dudes just like consistently taking over the gym strength training area. And now it is definitely a good balance, which I love to see because, once again, the benefits are endless for it. I could go on for days just in terms of the overall benefits of strength training. But that's one thing I have noticed. I mean, I do think that it is kind of crazy how the classes really pick up. I've noticed, like, you know, in our gym specifically, it's not necessarily an area where we see it, but anytime I do go past the extra floor where there's classes, I guess maybe they've been around for a while, but I just don't remember when I first started. Once again, similar to Josh, like 10 plus years ago, I don't feel like there was a huge kind of a lot of people like really into it as much. So I have noticed that people, I think, really just enjoy socializing. That's one thing, is like for tons of people, they'll go into the gym just to like talk, to make friends, to, you know, just be there and try to be active and burn some calories and whatnot. So I have noticed that as like a really big trend. And I think a lot of gyms have capitalized on that, where like, as you guys have seen probably, you know, in local to us, there's the Sweat and Tonic where you pay $200 to $300 a month to, you know, just get a sweat going and do some sort of workout class. There's a lot of those. There's Barry Boot Camp. There's all these different CrossFit gyms. So I think that's something a lot of people have started to enjoy. But yeah, that's something I've noticed myself. But yeah, that's all I have to say on that one.
Yeah, I've even on top of that, I've noticed like classes have always come and go. There was the CrossFit craze early on to when we started. From there was a really big bar craze, and that started to fade a little bit. I feel there was the group circuit, the F40 and the Orange Theory, which I've heard are actually hurting a little bit more now. Their numbers aren't as great as they once were, and I think in part that was a great intro for people. You've done nothing, you go in this class circuit and you get some kind of a base. But I think now that people are getting more available access to education, there's more content, there's less of that curve where you're like, I can just go to the gym, start training, and I can get a good baseline myself at the very least. So I think that is another positive of social media. And this question was fun because obviously we interacted with the gym and fitness through a lens of social media. And me and Kyle have been like nearly kicked out of multiple gyms for filming. We've been yelled at, we've been reprimanded. And like we always made such an effort to do it respectfully. Like get no one in the background, go to a corner, go where it's quiet, never get in the way of what someone was doing. And it's funny because it wasn't really a thing. Like it was so odd to be filming in the gym, and now like I just see people all the time complain. They're like, I'm dodging tripods when I'm in here, and it is crazy. Like even at the gym we go to in Florida, there's like DSLRs everywhere. You're like, you don't know where to kind of stand. So that is definitely a unique change within it. But I also think because of that, we're getting better access to information and more content in general, which is a positive to the negative. But one thing I will say too is like, there's a reason the basics stick, they last, and they always come back to it. So obviously really focusing on just good quality training, good quality nutrition, strength training first and foremost. Yes, these classes have their appeal. And we have an episode actually coming on Thursday with some of the most common gym mistakes, where we'll dive into this more. But nothing beats just good old-fashioned hardcore strength training for body composition. So if you want to change the way you look, the shape of your body, the tone of your body, you're going to benefit the most by strength training and doing those tried and true movements that have been around 50 plus years, because they have been for a reason. There are some really cool variations and you can benefit from them. And there has been some phenomenal pushes with movements. Like there were never hip thrust machines. There was never such an emphasis on glutes. And that's because the gym 10 years ago was way more male dominated. Like I wish a gym would release a stat, because I remember there'd be like 3 girls in the whole gym with like 100 dudes for a time. But now it's like getting close to that 50-50 mark, which is phenomenal. And men get a lot of benefit from glute training as well. So we've seen a whole suite of new machines come from that movement. And that's where these movements are cool, is things will pop up and you'll see a bunch of machines come, and there'll be a lot of nonsense movements like those little vibro machine things at the gym. If you're wondering if they work, they don't. It's not based on any science. It might make you feel good, or it might give you a good placebo, and if you want to use it for that, power to you. But it was funny, like that was revolutionary and new at the gym 10 years ago, and now I do feel like there's less of a focus on that, and gyms are being like, okay, let's get good squat racks, let's get a bunch of benches, let's get a really big dumbbell area. And I think that has been amazing, because for a while the gym was getting a little funky with the machines. It was getting super cardio heavy. There wasn't much place to train. The gym we go to now, Lifetime, one of the bigger, better gyms out there, I remember I went there and I hated it because it was this massive, crazy building. It's like the size of a mall, but they had the tiniest little weight room. And I'm like, this sucks. Why would I sign up at this gym? And it's funny because we signed up there, and about a year ago, I think they just spent a ton of money, like $1 million or something, on new equipment. And it's like, it's legit now. It's awesome. So I think there's a lot of good pushes here. Obviously, the biggest negative, I think, is there's such a push towards like steroids and quick fixes, as there always have been. But in the past, at least, I think it was done through abusive marketing, where it'd be like, take this pill, do this crappy program, whatever. and you'll get amazing results. And it was like false promises more so. And I think obviously there were negatives around false promises, but now the problem is I think people are really being like pushed to use performance enhancing drugs before they've even started training. Like you see just tons of videos of teens doing it, blowing up, looking big, just concepts of get big, like pump trend, do all these crazy things. And like, it's funny because I feel like for us, steroids, the time we trained, were like so taboo, and like you just look down on anyone who used them. But now there's becoming more of an acceptance, and I think obviously people that want to go that route and talk about them, power to you. If you're honest, you're talking about it, you're doing it safely, and you've been training for a while, you're an adult. But what's sad now is I do think people who just want to look good or looking for this quick fix, they're messing up their whole hormone profile, their testosterone. It can really affect your future in terms of fertility, all these different things. So I do think that's really unfortunate, and that is one thing I've noticed a big push towards. But I have seen a lot of good. I'd say there's more good than bad, and I'm thankful for that. But I always love a fun, open-ended question. That's my response. I know Kyle will probably add on here.
Yeah, and the one thing I've noticed myself is as well, a huge aspect to the online side of things. So I try to look around the gym because I feel like anytime I look around, it gives me an idea to film content, and it just really inspires me. Obviously, I can get a lot from other people crushing it, but also when I see lots of things taking place, I'm like, oh, that's a great topic. I'll pull out my notepad and write it. But I've noticed a lot of different things where we didn't have this like 10 plus years ago. Like to any given moment, which is really, really cool, and I'm very grateful for, there's probably hundreds of people watching our form videos while they're actually at the gym because they're trying new machines. They'll search it up. There's YouTube. I remember back then there was really no form videos there, but I'll even see some people following a specific like app where they have a class going, or like there's an instructor and they'll be kind of following it throughout. And instead of going to one of those classes, they just have it like on their phone. Even a lot of times people would bring a notepad and write down their sets and reps. Now there's so many great apps out there where you just write it down, you hold yourself accountable. Even I love how a lot of them will just like suggest what you used last week, and then you can see that number instead, so it keeps it like nice and organized and whatnot. But yeah, that's what's so cool, even for our online coaches, our online coaching clients. When they go to the gym, they literally just pull up their workout routine. They know exactly what to do, how many sets, how many reps. They look at it and then right to it. And I'll see a lot of different people. I don't think as many people as that should be doing this, but they'll just be looking at their workout routine. They'll be kind of taking notes there. They'll be, paying attention to that type of stuff, which is honestly so beneficial. But it is really cool to see the whole online side of things. I know we talk a lot about online coaching versus personal training. But yeah, I mean, those benefits are incredible because once again, it's more affordable. You can do it anywhere instead of having to book someone and schedule in a time with them or whatever, which is sometimes very inconvenient and whatnot, and you're paying hundreds an hour. There's an amazing way to do it. As you know, that's what we specialize in, and it's been really cool to see the growth of online side of things because I know a lot of people like it too, and yeah, that's been absolutely awesome to see.
Yeah, we were early pioneers with that, and there's a reason we started doing this 9 years ago. We waited, obviously, till we had more expertise in our journey, coached a lot of people for free, worked in my friend groups, and then I'm like, hey, I want to help more people at scale, did some personal training, and I'm like, I know there's a better system to do that. PT's hard, and even right now, obviously, with more cloud computing, the whole AI crazy push, this and that, it's amazing to see people buying more into online, and our systems have always at its core been a focus on optimizing nutrition in a healthy and sustainable way, optimizing training in a healthy and sustainable way using the best high-level strategies and systems to get you better results faster, and then planning, motivation, goal setting, accountability, individual accountability as well. Like I'm going to have to coach someone who's in college very different than a mother who has a full-time job and 4 kids, and really understanding that specific framework and curating the training and nutrition around what you have going on. And all we've done over this time is find ways to do this better. We don't sell any quick fixes. We don't sell any magic beans or magic supplements or special classes you have to do. Like we've really leaned into that. And because of that, we're so happy to say we've helped transform over 4,000 people with our coaching, which is a fantastic statistic. And I'm sure it's an insane amount of number we've helped, at least through YouTube, social media, podcasting, and it's been really great to be on an early wave with that. But once again, like if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you want to see real results, you deserve results, and you're tired of wasting time and energy on things that don't work, that discourage you and take away from your future happiness, reach out to us, let us take care of you. I'd love to work with you one-on-one, get you the results you deserve. And I think it's a perfect time with this summer abs promo. You can come in at an amazing rate. This is a paid program, but our coaching is fully guaranteed. So you know you're going to see your results, your money back, and we can guarantee you see your results for a reason. And that's because these systems work. There's no quick fixes. You will have to come in, you'll have to do the work, but I'm going to make it as easy as possible. I'm going to give you all the instructions, take out all the guesswork. It's going to be super simple. It's going to be like following navigation when you're driving somewhere. It's a whole different story than if you're just blindly trying to get there. So I want to get you there faster and better. So once again, DM us on Instagram with the keyword summer abs to our Instagram at Colossusfit, Colossusfit. That was our primary question for today. And that was an absolute banger of a question. It was a lot of fun. It's fun to recant on our journey through time and kind of where we're at now, as we'll continue to do from this podcast. But if you're new around here, we like kicking this off after the starting question with some quotes, because I find quotes are a great way to pack a lot of information and thought into a very small, punchy, memorable sentence, and or a few sentences at that. So let's see what quote Kyle has for us today.
So the quote I have for today is, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. So I know some people may not love the whole theory of, preparing for the worst, but I think it's a very common mistake people have on their fitness journey is they prepare for the best, right? They hope for the best and they prepare for the best. But what happens is a lot of times variables will take place. And Josh and I were talking about this recently, and the more variables you have, the harder it can potentially be, right? So let's say if you're someone who is living at home, you have no variables in place, your day is surrounded around training and eating and a little bit of studying. There's not going to be as many variables, and it'll be likely easier for you to stay on track. But what a lot of people want when they come into our coaching program, there's people who have 3 kids, 6 kids, a couple dogs, a busy life, they're traveling all the time. There's going to be a lot of curveballs. There's going to be a lot of variables thrown at you. So when you can actually prepare for that, it's going to help you in so many different ways. And that's going to look different for each person. But even myself, I copied Josh recently. I started getting meal preps delivered again. And I just found that the times that I have had some variables thrown at me, it was like no question, right? Some people would go to the drive-through. Let's say something happened. They'd grab a Big Mac. They'd grab something unhealthy because they had nothing prepared. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I've got this meal prep here. And even just obviously Josh with the 2 kids now, with just the more variables being thrown in, having access to these things such as your groceries prepped consistently or done consistently, these meal prep options, just picking up these different resources to have available for those times when it takes place, it makes such a big difference. And I find that a lot of people don't know how to handle those curveballs and those obstacles because they start a week thinking, here's the exact schedule and it's going to go perfectly well and everything's going to be good and we're going to cook this dinner. But then when something happens, let's say at your house or for your car or whatever it is, like it's life, right? Things will happen. They don't know how to handle it. And then one bad day turns into 2 bad days turns into 3, and then they say they're going to start next week. So once again, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I guarantee this will help you in so many different ways.
Love that quote. And yeah, even for me with the second child coming, I'm like, hey, it's going to get chaotic. It's going to be tough. How can I navigate this the best? How can I make this as easy for myself as possible? And although I've been in a really great habit with cooking, eating at home, I'm like, the meal preps will just allow me to crush nutrition even when I'm in a rush. It's just going to put me in the best place possible. Really trying to figure out when I can go to the gym, understand my scheduling. And I think by being prepared, even sometimes if the plan deviates, at least you have that baseline. And hope is not a strategy. If you're just hoping you'll figure it out or hoping you'll find a time to work out in the day, it's not going to happen. You got to get in front of it, look in advance. And I think that was incredibly well said. And one of the best things you can do in terms of preparation is having a coach on your side, someone to be there to be like, hey, you can do more. Let's give it more effort this week. Let's find a time that actually is going to work for you to get in the gym. Maybe we'll have to adjust the amount of volume you're doing in the gym or put you on a different program that'll be more impactful to get you better results with less time. Finding a nutrition strategy, giving you tips and tricks to optimize, seeing what's lacking. Oftentimes we won't know what's holding us back, or we will know and we'll be too scared to admit it. And it's so easy to be like, oh, sleep's not a problem for me. It's like, you look at the schedule, like, you got to make some more time to sleep. We got to get you in bed early. Netflix can wait. It's going to change everything. Like, that's where having that coach is so good, because with our own journey, it's so easy to be emotionally invested and to not make rational decisions and be like, okay, I'm going to cut. And then you cut for a week. Someone goes, hey man, you're looking skinny. And then you go, and then you do this crazy bulk. And then someone goes, you're looking a little chunky. And then you go back to cutting. And it's this back and forth. Whereas if you have a coach and they have you on a plan, a system, they'll see you through to that result. So I think that's a great way to be prepared, is having a coach. And I speak about it, and right now I'm really fired up about it because I've been so happy even seeing the results we got over this 30-day challenge alongside alongside the incredible results we're continuing to get with our coaching. And I know everyone deserves it. Everyone who signs up never regrets it. It's always amazing seeing people who are like, I didn't know I could be this fit, or I didn't know I was this capable, or I didn't know it could be this easy. Like, that's what we're here for. But I'm going to jump into my quote now. And my quote is, overthinking invents more problems than it solves. And this is by Gurwinder Bhogal. And I love this quote because I am the definition of I like to think about things. And my issue is, even I saw a quote from Chris Williamson. He said, you can't think your way through overthinking. You're just going to end up overthinking. And it's just all too often that we can complicate things. And even your fitness journey, maybe the solution is that simple, that it's like, I'll just get a coach, I'm going to put this out of my hands, and I'm going to see results. Simple. But even for me, it's easy to dwell on things and try to create solutions and let them be a bigger issue than they need to be. And this is something I've been working on lately with different challenges that arise as they come up. Even been battling a skunk under my shed, and this skunk is insanely resilient. I caught her and she came all the way back from like 5 miles, which is wild. Like, found her way back to my shed somehow. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I could sit here and devise all these strategies and think about it 10 different ways, but I'm like, you know what? When I let my dog out, I'm just gonna have to make some noise, look first. It's really not the end of the world, and I'll solve it. I'll contact this professional, will help me relocate, yada yada. Once again, it's easy to get so worked up about the most minuscule, silly things. And I've made it a challenge lately too to not overthink small things that come up, to move past little things, to let things go. Like, it can give you so much more clarity, especially when you're not like ruminating and brooding over some very simple thing that really isn't of that much consequence to you. And it's funny, if you look back at like some of your biggest problems probably over the last few years, you'll look back and go, these weren't even big deals at all. Why did I care so much in that moment? And I just think it's a great point. So overthinking often invents more problems than it solves. And I'm not saying thinking is bad. Thinking is great. Overthinking, not so much.
Yeah, I have to beat it out of myself sometimes. I'm like, I like the quote is, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about it. And once again, easier said than done. I just think that the more times, like, and I told Josh this lately, like, one of my goals was anything like small, like let's say a small amount of money, for example, like just try not to spend like too much time thinking about it, because you can just really, you can overthink to the point where you make the smallest problem seem like the biggest problem, and it just leads to unhappiness. It leads to stress. It leads to you maybe skipping workouts, getting a bad night's sleep, and you don't realize how much it actually affects your fitness journey, which is why we like talking about these things, because a lot of people think that it's just, hey, you got to eat more protein and I got to strength train harder. And those are great tips and those are amazing things to consider. But at the same time, if there's all these things just battling your mind and it's just like really holding you back, it's like, so why are we skipping the gym? And it's because of this small thing that we just decided to put too much precedent on, right? There's a lot of things. And that's where, once again, similar to my quote, where we're trying to prepare for the worst and like just really get everything planned out as best as possible. Like, a lot of what we do is helping people understand these different mental barriers and give a game plan of, oh, hey, this happens and, you know, there's a flooding at your gym and that's so bad. And unfortunately that happened. How can we work around this and create something for you, right? There's so many different obstacles. And once again, that's where we come in and can absolutely help take care of you. But I guess, yeah, now into our thoughts and what has us excited and intrigued. I'm going to just say one thing here. So I was listening to Chris Williamson, Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday is the whole stoicism guy, and he has some great books out there. I've read quite a few, and I know Josh is really big into them as well. And something I really liked that he had said, I had to pause and think about it for a bit because I feel like it applies in so many different ways. He said he tries to avoid talking about something until it's done. So what I want to say is I never want someone to discredit all their hard work and their consistency they've been putting in and whatnot. But what he was saying, and I thought it was really powerful, is sometimes we can spend so much time talking about it. Like, let's say you're just going to run a triathlon. Every family event, everything you do, you talk about it. I'm running a triathlon. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Sometimes we can actually get bored from talking about it so much that we end up almost even like feeling like we've done it because we've got so much credit from other people. And, you know, because we've talked about it so much, we've thought about it so much. So I just think that sometimes like it's really good. Like, you know, one of the quotes is work hard in silence, let the success make the noise. And I just think that, and I've been guilty of this in the past as well, where like you just talk so much about something and you haven't actually like put in that full work. You haven't even like done that specific event, but you've talked about it so much. So I just thought it was kind of interesting to like kind of get excited about things, but just like let the results speak for themselves, if that makes sense. So just something that he had mentioned that he's a big fan of. Like if he says he's writing a book, he's not going to be posting about it every day. He's not going to be telling every single person about it. He's just going to put in that work and then showcase, hey, the book is here and it's just going to blow up and everyone's going to be pumped, but he's going to have that end product to show. And I thought that was an interesting thought that was on the top of my head there.
Yeah, I shared most of my thoughts throughout everything else I've said today. And but one thing I do want to share is I want to shout out Savio for leaving this really kind comment. On Spotify, you can actually leave a response to any episode, which is the closest we have to commenting for a podcast. Obviously, we have YouTube as well, but I want to shout this out because this made my day when I saw it. So shout out Savio. Bros, I can't express how awesome this episode is. To approach the protein topic from a beginner's point of view and also understanding the transition in life was brilliant. Really enjoyed this one. So just want to say we really do appreciate the kind comments, the messages we got on Instagram. It keeps us going, and oftentimes we get asked, okay, how can I help you guys? Love what you do. I love that there's no ads, and we've kept it ad free. We get an email about every day offering us something to put on, but we know that the integrity of these episodes are better. We want them to be amazing listens. And if anything, we're just happy to even talk about how we can help you more with our coaching because we believe in that so much. Whereas I'm not going to go ahead and push some product I'm not sure of. But if you want to help us out, best way to do that is even just share this podcast, say you love it to your story, tell your followers to check it out. Whether you have 1, 2, 80 followers, 80,000 followers, it means just as much because even if one person comes from that, it helps one more person become fitter, healthier, and happier. And that is our mission. So if you could take the time to do that, it would mean the world. Also, if you haven't left a review yet on Spotify, that helps bump us up. Same with iTunes. So that really would mean a lot as well. But we're going to go ahead and jump into our client shout out. This is someone who is struggling to someone who is crushing it now. Let's see what we can learn from them.
So this week we actually have Sherry, and she's been working with Coach Krista, just done an incredible job at changing her body composition. As you can see, she's gained some high quality muscle, she's lost some unwanted fat, and she's just done such a great job, listening to the program, listening to what Coach Krista has to say, following through with the program. And what really stood out is that Sherry is actually a nurse who works night shifts. And I love this because a lot of times our transformations are different types of people, right? We recently shared, a client of ours who is in the alcohol industry who often has to sample alcohol to still, it's for his job. And like, the point I'm trying to get is there's always going to be different obstacles and there's always going to be different things within your work life. And a lot of times people have this limiting belief beforehand thinking, oh, well, and I hear this a lot from overnight workers, especially like shift workers, like there's just no way I can stay on track. My sleep schedule is all over the place. It's hard for me I'm always tired. It's hard for me to stay on track, all these different things. But when they come in and they get a customized approach that's actually for them, that's where it makes all the difference. So the workout Sherry does is going to be completely different. Right now her strength training protocol is created for her body type, for her schedule, for her energy levels, for absolutely everything. And that's what's really allowed her to stay on track, to create those small wins. And that's another thing, is you really have to start paying attention to those little wins, allow it to compound, and you will start to see that incredible change as you build those habits. So anyways, obviously, we have written down here from Krista that, she's been going through a lot at work recently and nothing stopped her. So shout out to Sherry. Once again, if you are looking to get the results you deserve, lose body fat, build confidence, feel your absolute best in whatever you're wearing this coming summer, message us with the keyword summer abs and we will be happy to take care of you with our guaranteed results.
All right, next question out of the mailbag is, what are your top ab exercises? So I've been asked this a lot lately, especially now that I'm a little bit leaner. The abs have been popping. People always say, what do you do for those abs? And my truthful answer for my top ab exercises are heavy compounds, especially deadlifts and squats. I know that sounds bizarre, but when you're bracing effectively, I'm telling you, you build out your abs like crazy. I feel like my abs have always looked the best when I've been powerlifting, and that's kind of been my hidden secret. And I know this might be a little bit wild, but when training, if you're bracing your abs and you're really breathing through the brace, that is where you can actually develop your abs quite a lot, because you'll develop a lot of abdominal strength. I don't do a whole lot of ab training myself. I love doing, there's a little 8-minute ab video on YouTube that I like doing, and I've been very inconsistent with it lately. I'll go through periods where I'm really good, but I feel like my abs maybe look 20% better, 10% better if I do it. Unfortunately, being lean is the main contributor to having great abs. But if there is one area to focus, I would say it's lower leg raises and just lower abdominal exercises, because those are less frequent and they're more unique to pulling up your legs. And I do see quite a lot of benefit out of those. So I really would say my top exercises, captain, chairs, leg raises. That's probably my all-time favorite. I also really do love the weighted abdominal crunch, the cable crunch. I find that's a fantastic way to really burn them out, to get some really heavy weight. And then you can't beat decline crunches as well. And then I also do like oblique twists. So those are my top 4. I most typically only do the captain chair leg raises as well as the crunches. I try to do them twice a week at least. I'll usually do about 100 total reps of the captain's chair leg raises, really focusing on contraction these days, going a little bit slower. And I'll do like 3 sets of 15 for the ab crunches. But I guarantee you, I would say 99 people out of 100 are overthinking their ab training. They're doing more than they need to, and they're not putting emphasis where it should be, doing things like heavy deadlifts, heavy squats, actually training a lot heavier, getting stronger, getting leaner. These are going to be the biggest things for abs.
Yeah, I find that a lot of times people will spend, truthfully, too much time on it. Like, there's a specific area in our gym where it's the machine crunches, which is to me pretty awkward, the machine, but also there's like these like twists where I think it's also very uncomfortable. But I'll see that area specifically busier than ever, and I'll see people do tons and tons and tons of sets on it, thinking that that's what's going to produce change. Obviously strengthening your core is super important, but I think a lot of times people have like just a mindset of, and even this is what's so cool is like our promo summer abs, and we're not going to be having you as much as people may want, and just doing 4 times a week, hour-long ab sessions. Like I've seen a lot of common mistakes within that. Like I've even had someone say to me, today's my ab day or something like that. And once again, it's not bad if that's like a rest day and you want to do like a couple movements, but I think sometimes people really, really overthink it, and a lot of it's going to come down to obviously the nutrition protocols as well, and that's something we specialize in, is getting you in that right calorie intake to help you get and develop those abs. And I was going to say my favorite exercise is called the plate push. So it's funny because I saw it years ago, and it was a guy who said, my favorite ab exercise is the plate push. And then it would just be him pushing the plate of food away from him, essentially saying, no, I'm done. I'm going to keep my calorie intake a bit lower to help me stay in control of my calories and be in a deficit. So that's kind of like a funny little way of like thinking about it, is like a lot of times those people who say, hey, I want abs, like what do I do, are the ones who are often actually overeating. They're the ones who are doing a lot of nighttime snacking. They're going over their calorie intake, and that's not to make anyone feel bad, but it is something that I really do find is like very, very common. So I wanted to answer it a bit of a different way, because Josh gave his top exercises, which I agree with, and I do the exact same as him because I work out with Josh. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share there.
Yeah, I love ab wheels too. Those are brutal, like taking it another spin, but Kyle's point is better. Like you can do ab wheels so you're black and blue. You can crush them. If your body fat's too high, you're not going to see that ab development, and you're just going to be wasting time. Because even for me, like as much as I would love to train abs hard for 20 minutes, I'm going to take that time very likely out of my core movements, and I'm just going to get way more from actually being in a dedicated split, really putting emphasis on that. Like you can train your abs to your black and blue, but you consider how massive your muscle groups of your back, your legs, and even the extra groups on top of it. Even like Rudel, it's like it's so easy to neglect these things. An ab can fill holes that it shouldn't at the cost of not seeing much compositional change. And like I said, you can develop abs, incredible abs, without doing very much ab training. And that's where like these high lever strategies, there's so much more to it. Like it's just so easy for people to try to simplify it in their mind. They're like, oh, if I eat these foods and I do these movements, but unfortunately it is more nuanced than that. Like compositional change, unfortunately, is more nuanced than this, and there's so much that go into it. And that's why we focus in on the total transformation. And if you want abs and you truly want abs, I will get them for you 100% guaranteed. It's not that hard. It's just about pulling the right levers and putting your energy in the right places. And that's where it is very hard making these bigger themes simplified. And I understand the desire to try to skip steps to get the result faster, but I assure you the fastest way you can achieve it is messaging me with the keyword summer abs. Be part of this test group. 4 spots available. Love to take care of you. So once again, DM me summer abs on Instagram to @Colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT. But our third and final question, I'll pass this one off to Kyle, is it bad to eat right before bed? And what should I do if I didn't hit my protein, but I am at my calories? Should I eat more to hit my protein goal?
So great question. 2 great questions, actually. For the first one, which is it bad to eat right before bed? Now, I'm going to start off by saying there's two reasons why I do feel like it is bad, but you're going to have to stay with me because I have a lot more to say here. So the first thing is just basic sleep. I do find that when you eat right before bed, it can affect your overall sleep quality. I don't know the exact stat and the exact amount of time, but I will say usually 1 to 2 hours to avoid eating before bed is a good rule of thumb, just so your body can digest, so that way it doesn't affect your sleep at all. The other thing is also that I find after a certain time, typically no good foods are consumed. So let's say for ease of this example, your bedtime is 10, it's very likely that after 9, you're just going to want to grab a snack. You're probably not actually going to be hungry. You're just feeling snacky, and your willpower is like pretty much at an all-time low because you've been up for so long, because you've had a lot going on during the day and all that stuff. So I just wanted to share that as like the biggest thing that I've noticed, because there's also it's been said like nothing good happens after insert amount of time, like right after 9 o'clock, usually it's just binge watching shows that probably aren't going to be as great for us, that are just really going to kind of, I guess you could say, not educate us, but just like allow us to detach from everything that's going on in life. As well as sometimes people will drink after a certain time. Also, just the food that's consumed, you're usually not going to grab a salad late at night and be like, oh yeah, this is going to be good for me. It's usually like the stuff that's not good. So I wanted to get that out of the way, but in its whole, you can still consume food before bed in terms of overall weight loss if you're within your calories for the day. And that's something I wanted to mention, because that used to be a really, really big myth, where it was if you eat after a certain time, you will store body fat. This myth has been disproven, and a lot of times people said that because when you're sleeping, you're obviously not moving, so they thought that you would store more body fat from eating before bed because you're not moving, but your body's still burning calories. You need calories. You will still be burning calories no matter what when you're sleeping, all that being said. So the biggest thing is, yes, you can have it. You're totally fine. The most important thing is your overall total calorie intake. So for this example, let's say if you're all over the place during the day, your calorie allowance is 2,000, and no matter what you like, the day was just absolutely brutal and it got ahead of you. If you decide to eat before bed and you have some calories left over, and you do have that, that's no problem at all. Obviously your sleep may be affected a bit. It may be harder to get your protein because you're cramming everything in, but you'll be totally fine, and you're not going to be storing any excess fat because I ate earlier in the day and you ate later in the day. Like, that's not going to make an actual difference. And to answer the second part here is, what should I do if I didn't hit my protein, but I met my calories? I personally wouldn't just start consuming any food because let's say I aim for 180 grams of protein and then I realize I'm at 150. So I wouldn't just say, oh, I need to go have a protein shake and chicken breast and all this stuff to hit my protein, because calorie intake is the most important thing for body composition changes. Of course, protein is very, very important. But what I would suggest and what I would do is see how I can learn from this going forward. So the next day, I would make sure to get my protein earlier in the day. I would realize where that obstacle was that caused me to not hit my protein, and I would make sure that it doesn't happen twice, essentially. As we say, never miss twice. So once again, that's my biggest thing here is I would just hit my calories. I would say, you know what, I'm going to take this loss here, but I'm going to learn going forward so it doesn't happen again. But I wouldn't just, like I said, go and consume a bunch of protein because I haven't hit it. I would just learn my lesson and go from there. So that's my personal answer there, and I'm sure Josh has stuff as well.
Yeah, I love everything about that answer. I think one extra tool I can offer is I love the 3-2-1 rule. I think it's the easiest way to kind of follow it. So no food 3 hours before bed, no water 2 hours before bed, and then no blue light 1 hour before bed. And I do find following this, it actually greatly improves the quality of my sleep. Is that to say I never break this rule? Not at all. Yesterday we played volleyball till pretty late, about 8:40 or whatnot. I went to bed around 10:30, and I had 2 shawarmas late at night. I had a lot of calories left. I played a lot of volleyball. Once again, I guess I was like just 1 hour later, but you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Maybe you have to eat right before you go to bed. That doesn't mean I'll never do it. It means that I aim not to do this most days. And I had to have water too. I had water pretty much 30 minutes before I went to bed because I was so thirsty. And once again, these are the different things you'll have to explore. But in general, I do find this rule is a good one to follow, and for all the reasons Kyle listed. So if you want like a simple template to kind of think about each day, if you do that 3-2-1, your sleep will absolutely bump up in quality. It will be a great addition for you indeed. But we want to thank you for tuning in today. This is a really great episode, jam-packed, lots of phenomenal information 4 spots available. It's your turn to get your abs. Message us on Instagram, that keyword summer abs. We can't wait to take care of you. We've got a really amazing episode coming out Thursday, sharing the biggest mistakes we see as to why people are not hitting their goals and not seeing the progress they want to see in the gym specifically. So be sure to tune in for that because it's going to be absolutely awesome. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.